Well, let's just go with it. Um, Welcome to the second week of Storytelling with Data. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. Good to see you all again. The first thing that we have on the agenda for today is to finish discussing your assignment 1 stories. So you didn't have a chance to get to Nathan's or Laya's stories on Friday. So let's start with those today. Since Nathan isn't here, Laya, can we start with your story? Okay. So did everyone have a chance to take a look? Okay. So your story was about Deepika and makeup. Cool. So what feedback do y'all have?
I thought it was a really cool choice that you made to do a story that wasn't like directly about you, but sort of was like important to you. And you said like it was someone that you look up to. I thought that was really like a cool choice because I know everybody else was not uncool to stories from our own lives. So it was like impressive and refreshing to hear this sort of like story that you were able to tell about someone that wasn't even you. So it probably took a little bit more like digging and stuff, which was cool.
Thank you.
Cool. What else?
I think you did a really good job like conveying her emotions as well, especially since it wasn't like from your point of view. I really like could understand what her like reasoning was behind like all of her insecurities and stuff. I think you did a good job with that.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know her personally, but like she's actually a friend of like a family friend. So I know some stories of her, but I also like have been following her on like social media and through the news. So there are definitely parts that I kind of made up to try and add to the story. But yeah, I was struggling a bit with like how much should I make up or how much should I rely on like actually what I read in the news. So I was playing with that a bit, but I'm glad it made sense, hopefully.
Which part, just out of curiosity, which parts did you make up? Or
Yeah, so
if it was like one specific thing? Or...
Yeah, what I'm remembering that I made up was like in the middle, like the conversations I think that she had with people at like the beauty company that she was working at. Like I don't know exactly what they said to her. I know that I know that that's kind of like the gist, but I made up the quotes. I don't know exactly what was said.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure how to make up the quotes, so I'm like, I hope it doesn't sound too weird, but
yeah. No, hearing that, I think that it's as an added layer that's cooler because I like thought you were more familiar with her, like had met her and like knew her, but now hearing that it's a story that you had kind of observed, but you're now making it, not that it's fiction, but now it's like based loosely on true events. But I like how you added some of like your input there. And in terms of the story itself, I mean, I really liked it. Again, I thought it was interesting doing it like a third person story. And I think like I was super impressed by her story and how she became so big and had to, fight all these obstacles. And I think that I wonder if telling it, I mean, I don't know, did you ever end up posting it with images?
I was trying to put it together with images and it just wasn't working because for a large part of it, like the beginning, I didn't really know what to put. So I was like, I'll just put like images on the side and leave it as a blank story that I could speak over like in a Black video.
Okay.
Yeah, I struggled to think of like what all the images could be, which is what kind of pushed me away from doing that.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was going to say images or having more like voice intonation might be able to, because all of a sudden, like she had all these successes and it kept building and building on top of each other, in some way to like illustrate that more, whether through like an emphasis in tone or having a visual, I think would just like even, just kind of magnify this achievement for the audience.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
I had the exact same observations there. Yeah, with respect to visuals and so I thought like even screencasting like a scroll through of your visuals in the like sketch document that could work or could be fine. Like, you know, one image per slide, just like looping through or something like that. And then so with respect to like following up on Amelia's comment about like intonation or voice, I think your narrative style is very like matter of fact. And so like you didn't modulate your voice much, and then didn't kind of, you weren't like effusive with your excitement to go along with like, you know, the most exciting parts of your story. So I think that can be really effective for some stories. And I think it mostly works for this one. But then I also think there's like an opportunity here for your excitement about the topic. And like, especially during like major conflict or conflict resolution points in the story, to, you know, use your kind of voice intonation to like hook your audience even more. And like sometimes when you're excited as the narrator, it can help engage your audience also. But yeah, and then you could do that with visuals or kind of tone modulation or both, or something else. So, you know, it's your story, so you don't have to listen to those. And I think actually you're like, the kind of tone you used might work particularly well for data stories. So like where you kind of like want to convey objectivity almost, but yeah, so, you know, worth keeping in mind, like how does your tone match up with your message? And, you know, I think worth experimenting with perhaps.
That's good feedback. Yeah, I don't exactly know how to modulate my voice, but if I didn't know that, I guess it would have helped if I had like a soundtrack or like something else to aid just saying that the direction of the story was changing or things were getting better or worse, or to aid like the conflict. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
I think, yeah, like a soundtrack's a really good idea. Even just like kind of expressing exasperation, like when like her her colleagues at the beauty company, when like her first job out of college, where like, oh yeah, people aren't gonna like this, they want to look like the it girl, like maybe some exasperation there could be a place. And then when she like sold out of her first products and there are 10,000 people in line, like, you know, it's like 10,000 people in line, or like, I don't know, like that sounds fake, but I guess it takes some like acting, which, but like, you know, maybe playing around with that could be useful. So you could either like, it's like if you're excitedly telling a story to a friend, like how would you like think about how would you modulate your tone there, or even just like recording yourself, listening. Okay, what am I taking away? It's hard to listen to yourself on recording, but it can actually be kind of useful. Like, okay, is this the tone I want? And like, it's really hard to get tone right, but you know, potentially worth thinking about or playing around with.
That's like particularly interesting feedback for me because like amongst my like friends or family, I'm known to like be expressive and even like with my hands when I'm speaking and like change how I sound. So I think it might have also been like me being nervous that I'm recording myself because I'm not used to usually doing that. So I might have just like resorted to a more like monotonous tone, like subconsciously without realizing. But yeah, that's good to know. If
that's really interesting. Yeah, so yeah, so given that, you know, I think listening to your recording and like, you know, it might be insightful, and I don't know, something to keep in mind. Overall, I thought you did an awesome job, like with your narrative. Like you had a great setup for like Deepika's life and setting up conflicts, and like I thought it was super clear. You did a really nice job like taking the audience through the resolution and like working us through the logic. That's hard. That stuff is hard to do, especially, you know, as others have said, like, you know, you're it's really neat to hear you were like filling in details there, because it came off really seamlessly, but yeah, but tricky to do. So nice job with that. Yeah, I thought like, you know, your story flowed super nicely. It was really clear, understandable, and then every piece fit in like a kind of, you know, fit nicely with their like overall narrative and message. So I thought that was really well done. So yeah, great job overall. Okay, any other feedback?
Just one more thing you mentioned, that you like are really expressive with your hands. And that made me think that maybe you could do something where like I know Amelia had like her face and like shoulders in like part of the like overlaid over the images. So I feel like it could be cool if you like whatever going forward or just kind of like thinking about it, like had yourself like over it, and then that way even if you felt like you were like not expressing as much with your voice, then like you'd be able to see your hand motions that you'd be making, which would convey like some of that emotion that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. I like that. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. And yeah, great feedback, everyone. Nathan, I know you just signed on. Are you up for us going through your story?
Yeah, sorry, my laptop died, so I apologize for being late. But yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Nathan's story, just to remind everyone, was about like, you know, Dartmouth, getting into Dartmouth and the car crash. Okay, so what feedback do you all have for Nathan?
I loved your visuals. I loved how it started with the calendar, and you had really cool like videos of Dartmouth in there and people running around. I just thought that that was really cool and definitely really helped tell your story. You had like the intersection too, so we could just kind of visualize all that was going on. So I like that a lot.
Thank you.
I also really liked how you set up the story, like how you gave like your background emotions, like how much you wanted to get into Dartmouth. I feel like it made like the whole like getting in like as a listener feel like also I was like really invested in it. So yeah, I like that too.
Thank you.
I loved the visuals as well. I felt like what could have like it so much happening in one day, it could have felt really manic and like hard to follow. And the way that you did the visuals was like well paced, and it helped me like, I don't know, remain in the moment with the story and not be like, what is happening? I thought that like the moral of the story was pretty strong, but you could almost take it like a step further. Like the kind of live while you can message is really valuable, but I also think that there's like one step further to that being like yes, you got into Dartmouth that day and that's fantastic and like you should be so proud of yourself, but it like the car crash was almost, or it seemed to me, I could be wrong, but it seemed like a reminder that getting into Dartmouth isn't like the end all be all. It's not like going to like, it doesn't make you somehow not human anymore. Like you're still human, you can still make mistakes. And it's kind of like that little like ego check that we all had after we like got into an Ivy League school and we're like, oh, we're invincible. So I thought that the moral could have been taken like a step further in that direction, but it's almost like implied where it made me think about it anyways. So I'm not sure if you like meant to do that, but yeah.
No, like
I
I totally agree. I think like I definitely could have been more clear on that. But that was like definitely like the feeling I got afterwards too, like the humble feeling and and like realizing like, all right, like you don't have like everything figured out, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think there were like so many nuances to like the ending of the story, and it was, yeah, I really liked it.
Thanks.
I also really like the way that you told the story. Like it felt pretty like friendly and familiar. Like I remember there was this one moment where you're like explaining the intersection and you're like, okay, like just to break it down, this intersection's kind of different. And it sort of just feels like we're like hanging out and you're like, oh my gosh, this thing happened to me. And you're like telling the story. Because I feel like at least for me, like I had the tendency to sort of like slip into a script. And it felt like sort of the opposite when I was watching your video, and it was like pretty like comfortable and just like super storytelling-y, which was cool.
Oh, I appreciate it.
That's a really, yeah, I think that's a really great observation. Now that you say that, I know what you're talking about. I didn't notice, like I didn't put my finger on that when I was watching it, but that's a really nice way of framing it. Yeah, so yeah, I think it's like another tone thing. It's like, how do you connect with your audience? I think there's like no one right answer, but yeah, sometimes, yeah, again, like, you know, sometimes colloquial kind of that sort of style can work really well and sometimes not. So, you know, worth paying attention to it. But yeah, really great observation there. Yeah.
I was gonna say that I really liked your visuals, like I think most of us did. But my favorite was like in the beginning when you started off with the calendar, because I think for like most people's story, it's like maybe not chronological, but it's like there aren't like many huge events that happen in like one day. So I thought it was like a cool way of also foreshadowing that like we're just focusing on that day and there are more events that are gonna happen, and like the first event that you talk about isn't the only thing that's going to happen, but more will. And I was thinking like going back and forth, like would it have made sense to like give some sense of like foreshadowing that something like ominous was going to happen, but I kind of like that you stuck with just saying that it was the Star Wars premiere, because we knew that was going to happen, but like in between the admission, like finding out and then getting to the Star Wars premiere, something that we didn't expect to happen. So I thought it was like a good mix that you did of like giving us the context up front, but also surprising us. So yeah, I really liked it.
Thank you. Is it Leia or Laya?
It's Laya.
Laya, okay. And like,
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
I thought like yours was also like amazing. I didn't get to give feedback yet, but I did like how you like did the third person. I felt like I was able to like see your characters like and be like brought right into the story, and it felt like, yeah, it felt very natural too. But and I liked your like your choice of your story too. I thought it was like a very important like message, and like being in like a different place is like obviously like very relatable for a lot of people.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Let's see. So yes, I also thought the visuals were really awesome. Yeah, great job at that. And I also, like others, I thought your like kind of details about Dartmouth is a reach school, like that, you know, really helped build excitement. That was great. And then, you know, your Google Maps visuals, all your visuals were great. Two things I noticed to like that one I wasn't sure about, and then one I thought could use improvement. So the one I wasn't sure about, you left in a cut. So it's like at some point you were like, oh, actually, let me start over. I didn't know if that was intentional, like an artistic decision, or just like because that would have been really cool, or if that was just like a
No,
you
yeah,
know, full on mistake.
that was on purpose. Yeah, it
Oh
was
yeah.
like, yeah, it was like, because did you see like in the video like it went back to the word two, like because like it was like because like that's how I like experienced it in real life. Like I saw the word and like I kept going, but then I was like, wait, like that's all I need to see before like I got into the school. Like I just need to see that one word, congratulations, and like that like would tell me that I got in. So I was like going so fast reading, but then like I stopped myself and like went back and like was like, wait, like I actually did get into Dartmouth. So yeah, that was on purpose.
That was interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, that's good to know. And then you had one little part in there about like what I could have done if I knew my life was going to end suddenly in a car crash. I thought the wording in those few sentences were was a little confusing. So I was able to follow from like context and from like class last Wednesday, but I thought that like one little section could have used a little more like finessing of the wording. You know, that like, very minor thing, but worth thinking about. Like
Yeah, no, can you point me to the spot again? Is that like
yeah.
where is that like at the end?
I'm remembering it like kind of 2/3 of the way through when you're talking about like after the car crash. What could you have done? Like if you knew your life was going to end, what could you have? How would you have done things differently? I can find the like exact line in your narrative if you want, but
I trust you.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm happy to look it up to give you the specific feedback, but however you frame that thing, it felt like it was not, it like everything else was super smooth. And I think the like, yeah, your tone was really conversational, which I think worked for this one. But then that one section, it seemed like I couldn't tell if it was like how you were reading the script or the words, but something in that tiny section there like seemed like it needed a little more finessing from my perspective.
Okay.
So yeah, so great job overall. And yeah, I mean, you all did awesome jobs. So okay, wonderful. Anything else with any other feedback for Nathan before we move on? Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So thanks, everyone.